What's going on, everyone? It's Corey and Jack here from the Breakevens, giving you another podcast today. Round 3 is done and dusted. Jack, do you want to say hello to the folks and what do you think about round 3?
Hello, and look, I think we can say carnage again.
Yep.
I think it's the theme of this year. It's just injuries after injuries, laid outs after injuries. Um, I don't think a single person wasn't affected by an injury this round. It was that many, and including the laid out of someone who probably had about 50,000 ins to be a laid out. It's not great.
It's not great. It's not great at all. Before I get into how I thought the week went, let's go through the socials. So don't forget, you can find us on Twitter at BreakEvensPod. Trying to hit 500 followers over there. We still need around 70, so make sure you give us a follow at BreakEvensPod. And on YouTube, the Breakevens, trying to hit 200 subscribers. We're at 111 at the moment, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, as I said last week, we are on a lot of different other platforms, so I want to go through them one more time, and then you'll have to check out our Twitter for that. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Index, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn plus Alexa, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, Deezer, Listen Notes, Player FM, Overcast, Castro, Castbox, Podfriend, and Good Pods. And Breathe. Okay, so starting next week, I won't be going through them all, but you'll be able to find it on our Twitter in our bio, and it'll be the pinned tweet there. So make sure you follow our Twitter at BreakEvensPod and find us on YouTube or any of those other podcast sites and apps. So, how did I think round 3 went? Personally, I didn't like it because I decided to trade Wits to Darcy Cameron.
You silly boy.
Well, it was the right decision. I was just unlucky that he got injured. So that wasn't great. I missed out on a few points there. It's weird seeing Tom Stewart back after 1 week and he goes 160 odd.
I wasn't happy about that at all.
Which is annoying and stuff champion data.
What did Champion Data do?
Sam Doherty and Marcus Bontempelli did not deserve those low of the scores. And I know that they brought out an article just before saying, this is what happened. Bullshit, I want my points back. Give me my bloody points.
I just want points that taste like real points.
That's it. But yeah, it was a crazy, chaotic round, as Jack said. So, all right. How did you go this week in Supercoach, Jack?
So I went all right. I'm banging my head against the wall because for the first time I saw a lot of cloud around a player saying get rid of, and for some reason I decided not to back myself in and I went with the crowd and he went and scored 134, I believe. Might have been 138. And he's jumped up and now he's got a break even of 4.
That happens sometimes, yes.
So I'm quite annoyed that I went against my gut feeling since day 1 of preseason.
Just for people who don't know, Jack, who are you talking about?
Will Day.
Yep.
I've been talking him up all preseason, and I listened to other people and didn't back in my choice. So I'm annoyed at that. But on the other hand, I'm also not as annoyed because I was able to do a big play this week.
Yep.
With the money that I got from him. So like I wouldn't have been able to do what I did, but still he's looking like a D6 player at the end of the season, Will Day. And he's started at 360k.
Yep, I think I was one of those people in your head going, "Don't do it." E even though I was happy to have his 139 points in AFL fantasy, so I was happy about that. So
um, but in terms of my score this week, I scored 2,181. Had Hopper out, which most people did. Lucky I had Baker in, but then I had a fair few low scores. I had McKenna 57, who I just brought in for Will Day. That's 70 odd points I've lost there. As you're talking about Doherty with his 87, Lockie Jones 68, which, rookie 68, 70, it's what you want, but, it's still not great. Darcy Wilmot 69 came in, which is, it's all right.
take it.
Um, then I had my captain on lead, and I didn't listen to you on one, and I was too scared to go with my other option with captain, which was either Josh Kelly with 148 and Sean Darcy with 132,
Yeah.
and I had led 114. I thought I'd be safe this week, and it was pretty silly. Um, Bond's 89, like you said, and Will Setterfield had a lower game with an 82, which is still a good score, but we're going in expecting 100 plus again. But
Seeing what he was on at quarter time, I think he was on like five or something at quarter time, so he did well to claw it back.
oh yeah, he had a very good second half, but
Dislocated his finger as well.
my king. And we obviously have Rowan Marshall, who's not been great to start the season.
Yep.
Jack Zabel went below 100 for the first time, same with Errol Goulden. So that really hurt. Even though Zabel scored more than Tanner Bruin, you're still expecting a 90, 100. And when you have K Chandler's 90 on the bench for 200k cheaper,
Yeah.
you're there like, wow, do I bench him this week? But no, overall, I think it's a solid round, 2,100. Got a captaincy wrong, and um, obviously a couple of players underperformed a bit that don't expect to happen too often. Um, but yeah, I can say 2,181. I'd say it's a pretty good score. Round three, with how I went after round one, these two rounds have brought me back.
Yep.
I'm back to, I believe it is 51,296. So I've already dropped over half my round one rank in 2 weeks,
Good. Good.
which I'll take. It's 11,800 jump again this week. Um, with trades, I've done the two, and me and you spoke about it. It's very risky. I love it, but it's made me do this power play, and it is, even though he scored 132 this week, Sean Darcy has gone out for Brody Grundy, and then I have gone Finn Callahan up to Luke Davies at Uniac, aka the UDL.
EDL. Nice.
So that's a good power play to make. With Gorn, unless Gorn makes a remarkable return this week, I might jump through my door, not just bang it this week.
Yep.
But
Nice.
yeah, no, I think it's a solid round.
Yeah. Well, you beat me. I scored 2,119. Which saw me drop 5,692 ranks. So I've gone from top 5k to 10,136.
I mean,
Which
that's still 41,000 more places higher than me.
it's true. But yeah, looking at players, um, I had Bond VC 89, then Interled the 114. Hopper out, but I had Baker come in for that. I dropped points. I kept Callahan on field, but I had Cam McKenzie on the bench, which sucked. Apart from that, I'm pretty sure um, everyone else that I had on field, I didn't drop any points really. So um, that was good in a sense. Um, Trades this week. I've got a video coming out, my round 3 review anyway, but trades this week. I have gone Finn Callahan to Harry Ralston from GWS, and I've gone Darcy Cameron to Tim English.
That's
That
another risky Ruckman trade, eh?
it is, but I have 155k left in the bank. I'm not going to boost because I've already used 2. So I'm gonna wait um, and looking to get Stewart or Clary in very soon. But I'm happy with all my rookies, Sheasel and Chandler, who are playing on field at the moment. They're scoring well. Mackenzie and Ashcroft are scoring well. And McKenna and Wilmot will keep making money for me. And then I've got
Don't
all
forget about
Ice,
Gimby.
yeah, Ice and Ginby. Sorry, they're all making cash for me, and my bench guys are as well. So I'm in a good spot. Um, just need to hopefully not get another ruck injury.
Yeah, well, it seems to be the thing with English at the moment. Every week, midweek, he has a small tweak on his ankle, but then he gets up and plays.
Yep.
It's really a Russian roulette with how long he's gonna last. It seems like.
And funny enough, Jack, that's the titles of this podcast, Ruck Roulette. So
Jeez, I am great.
you've done well there. I'll quickly go through the break evens, which top scored for us all 2,219, and I'm pretty sure we were both playing this side in different leagues.
I was playing it, and I believe it was I needed Darcy to score 70 more than Jaden Hunt, and he had more than that at halftime. Then Darcy fell asleep, and Jaden Hunt turned it on.
Shrek went back to his swamp. So the break even scored 2,219. Um, we went Bont into lead, which was we originally had I think it was lead into Oliver, so that
Yeah,
156 would have been even better. But that's okay. We had Callahan on field.
pretty sure that was my fault. I said, fuck it, dude. Let's go punt lead.
We had Callahan on field instead of Oscar Baker. We had Wits. We didn't go to Darcy Cameron, so that helped us. And Mitch Owens scored 76 for us.
A bit of a
Um,
shock. He had a pretty good game, I thought.
yeah, he's averaging 83 at the moment, so 76 a bit unders, but I mean, we kept a few points on the bench with Chandler there, but that's all right. Now, I think we spoke about doing one trade, and I think that was Finn Callahan to Buckley
Yeah, I think so. I think that
for
was it. Yeah.
GWS. So um, that's not confirmed. We're not 100% sure if that's what we're going to do, but that's one option because there's not really anyone else we can trade. We're in a pretty good spot. Um, so and we don't want to risk a Baker, Phillips, or a Davey on field. So we need someone to replace Callahan there. We might even keep Callahan. He could still be a decent option, but Buckley's playing more consistent and doesn't have a shoulder injury, so that's what we're doing there. All right, now with all that done and dusted and out the way, it's time to go into our first segment, which is VC and C options.
Sure. Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
All right, so I've gone through and found the VC and C options for this week. Um, it's a bit different this week because we have a game on Easter Monday, so those Sunday games could possibly be a VC as well, but I've gone off Sunday and Mondays just pure C options. So, but it all depends on your team and everything like that. But let's get into it. The safe options, in my opinion, are Took Miller 110 versus the Saints in his last three. That is on Saturday night. So that could be a VC or a C option there. Callum Mills 117 average versus Port in the last three. Again, playing on that Saturday night, which is another B, C, and C. The Bont 113 versus the Tigers, who like to leak points in that midfield. That's on the Saturday afternoon, so that's a strictly VC option in my eyes. And Clayton Oliver, he only averages 98.6 in his last three versus the Eagles, but he's on an absolute heater. And the Eagles just had six blokes just get injured in the last round. So I've put him in there. They play on the Sunday, so he's a C option if you have him there. And now let's move on to those smoky picks that Jack likes. The first one is James Sicily, averages 113 versus the Cats. They play on the Monday, so that is a captain option. Jack McRae, I said the Tigers like to leak points in that midfield. He averages 132 points versus the Tigers in his last three. So that's that Saturday afternoon is a VC option. Tom Stewart, 114 versus the Hawks. Just come off a big 160. Playing on the Monday, again, is a captain option. Christian Petrarca, for those who have him, there's not many. 117 average versus the Eagles. Again, playing on that Sunday, so that is a captain option. Josh Dunkley versus the Pies, 115 average in the last three. They play on Thursday, so it's a strict VC there. Someone who's a bit underperforming at the moment is Andy Brayshaw, who averages 129 in his last three versus the Crom, and they play on the Saturday afternoon, so that is a strict VC. Cogs had a stinker last week. Can he bounce back? 124 versus the Bombers. They play on the Sunday. That's a big C option there. I've put in Brodie Grundy, 120 in his last three versus the Eagles. Obviously, they have been at Collingwood, but he's the number one ruck, and the Eagles don't have a ruck, basically, so could go massive.
And Melbourne's midfield's better.
That's true. So they play on the Sunday, so it's a strict captain option. And for those who want to go really risky, Rowan Marshall, 125 versus the Suns, playing on that Saturday night. That is a V, C, or C option. Unfortunately, Jack, there is no Josh Kelly this week. It's not a good matchup for him, apparently. But you can still go him if you want.
Well, it's funny because I've got my VC and C on no one you named. So my VC's on LDU.
Okay.
And my captain now. So funny enough, I was there between the two names, and I went on the one that you just said that isn't in there. But I was flipping a coin between Kelly and Grundy, basically because Grundy's game against the Eagles and Kelly, he's practically full mid this year.
Yeah.
And even his 89 scoring game in round one, that was in a free third quarter concussion.
Yeah.
So he's looked to go 120 plus every game so far.
Yep.
And LDU's averaging a ridiculous 149, so that's why I've got the vice captain on him. I believe it's Friday afternoon.
Yep, nice. So they are the VCC options for this week. Alrighty, let's move on to our second segment: buy, keep, sell, and avoid.
Help me! Help me!
All right, Jack, you know the drill. We're going to start off with our buy. So who is your buy for this week?
My buy is a lot of people have been hit with an injury crisis in this position, so I have gone with Brodie Grundy.
Okay.
Number one ruck, scored a massive 143 on the weekend, and I'm not doing it saying chase points. It's more of the fact Gawn's set to miss at least another 5 weeks.
3 to 4.
3 to 4 weeks. Okay, my bad. But in those 3 to 4 weeks, Grundy's going to make money, and he's going to be a pod who is going to be scoring huge every week. His hardest game, like opponent wise, is Richmond with Toby Nankervis if Nankervis is fit to play. So he's got a very nice, easy run of games, and if he continues with this form, which we know he's going to at least get 110, he's going to make money for the 4 or 5 weeks, and where you can go up to a Gorn if you want when he comes back, or an English, or Wits, a Darcy, whoever you please, you'll be able to get anyone. And with Darcy Cameron going down, I think it's a bit of a pod choice to go for, and people are avoiding. So that's my buy is that's why my buy is Brody Grundy.
Yep. And the big thing there is he's going to make that money, so it's going to be less to get those people that you were talking about. And
Yes.
that's something I thought about this week. Do I go Grundy, then in a couple of weeks, then I go to English? And that would leave me with 260k in the bank, but I've decided my team needs Tim English's points now, and he is going to go up over 700k. So I'd rather get him now than later. But I definitely get that Grundy pick. I've been thinking about it the last few days. My buy for this week, Jack, is his teammate, the Pink Pig, Clayton Oliver. The pig is getting down and dirty in the mud, and he's rolling around in that cash. He is now over 700k and has a break even of 111, and he's playing West Coast. Now, as I said earlier, averages 98.6 in his last 3 against West Coast. But he could go absolutely nuts. He's a must-have, and everyone needs him in their sides ASAP. I'm looking to get him in the next couple. So, if you can, get Clary in this week. All right, let's move on, Jack, to your keep.
My keep is Jack Zeeble. Obviously had his poor 78 score, and that's going to have people worried, but Jack Zeeble's break even hasn't been affected too much by it. I believe it's still very low. I can't remember off the top of my head. But one poor week with Zeeble, we know he's got the role. We know he's going to get those super coach points. I wouldn't trade out worrying now, especially as we brought him in as a money maker, and he's still going to be able to make us that money.
Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of reactionary trades going on, which I don't like.
We can't help. We can say don't do it, but if people don't want to listen, they don't listen.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're the easy targets.
Each to their own, really. My keep is Rowan Marshall. Obviously not the output we've been expecting so far this season. With the one decent week. But with all the good rucks slowly going down, we need to have a little bit of security, which is what we have with Marshall, and we also have the potential for him to go massive. We've seen previous seasons he can smash out 150 pluses.
Yeah.
He just needs to get in his groove. I still think he's a value option. And I think those who are training him out are making a bit of a mistake, in my opinion. But I can also see the frustrations. It's the same with Doherty for me.
Gone with last week, not in general, but led with the first week.
Yeah. Me personally, I think it's a hold, and you just need to fix your injuries and make sure you get the right rookies in your team first. That's priority.
Yeah.
The only reason
unless the primo goes down, you keep it.
Well, that's the thing, like the only reason I'm getting English this week is because Cameron got injured.
Yeah.
If
Well,
it
the only reason I traded Stewart in round 1 is because he was meant to miss a month.
and he
You know what
missed
I mean?
one. But I think it's more important to fix those injuries and those rookies before it's too late, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our sell, and I think we might have the same person for sell here.
Yeah, I've got Finn Callahan.
Ooh, okay.
He scored a measly 37 with a sore shoulder. I feel like this was the game for him to go big. Or not big, like to bounce back and keep his money going. But with that score of a 37, his break even has indeed jumped up to 69.
Nah,
So if you keep him now, you're one, hope his shoulder is fine, and two, praying he can go big. You're gonna need that 100 to 110 for his break even to come back down to a point where he can make the money where we first fought. Um, I obviously sold him as I think a break even of a 69 is too risky with his free scores. But yeah, it's like a tightrope. He's shown he can obviously go 110 plus, but he hasn't shown it enough. So it's a massive risk to keep him, but it's also like if he does go that 110 plus, you're looking a bit silly, but I'd go safe and I would sell Finn Callahan this week.
yeah, that's something I've thought about personally. Thinking about reversing that trade that I did because he went 101 and 111 before he got injured. So he's got those 200 scores. Obviously one of them was in a preseason game.
Yeah.
But he has the potential there. Then he had the injured game, which he got 68 or something. And then he looked hurt last week. So, um, if you see any pictures of him during the week and he's still got those shoulders heavily strapped, I'd be looking. Yep, he's definitely a move on. But if that strapping's off, we could see him back to his best, and we know he can score 100. But I think sell is the safer.
It's the For a man who loves a risky pick, I've got to go safe on this one.
Yep, that's completely fair. My sell is the person who I thought you would have had, and that's Darcy Cameron.
Oh yeah.
Second grade MCL injury will see him out for 6 to 8 weeks, but I actually checked AFL.com injury list, and it's listed as 8 to 10 weeks. And unfortunately, that means those like myself that traded him in last week, he is a must sell. I don't really need to go into detail why he's a sell. I think it's pretty obvious. So hopefully you have enough money in the bank to get an English or a wit. If not, as Jack said before, you have Grundy there, which is another riskier but good option. Okay, and Jack, let's finish off with your avoid.
It really pains me to say this name because he's a man from the greatest club in the AFL, and it's Liam Baker.
Okay, yep.
He scored a huge 143 this week, but that was with Hopper, Martin out, and him jumping into the midfield. He
Yep.
played midfield and he played his half-back role. Dusty, Hopper are both back in this week, so he's going strictly back to the half-back flank. He might get a bit of wing time with Short still out, but Ross looked very good there over the weekend, so I think he keeps his spot. And we saw it last year with Liam Baker, and we're seeing it again this year. He can score. He can score his massive scores of 130 plus, but you'll see a lot more 70s and 80s alongside his name. Um, and the main reason that made me bring his name out is he's currently in 5,865 teams. That is a massive risk. Now, obviously, I can't see how many have jumped on him this week because I don't have Supercoach Gold. Um, but seeing that much amount on a player that you know is going to average around that 86 mark, it is absurd. Um, so especially this big score came from midfield minutes, which we won't see often. He's like a Callum Mills. If there's an injury in the forward line, he plays forward that week. If there's an injury in the midfield, he'll play midfield that week. But his main position and where we'll see him most is in the back line. And he doesn't have those kick outs like Rioli, Vlastun do. But that's why he's my avoid.
Yep. So I've got up here, Jack. 5,398 teams have traded him in this week.
That's over 90% of teams.
Yeah. Now, funny enough, he was one of my contenders for the avoid. But I did a bit of research. I went onto DFS Australia and started to look at a few heat maps. Because I know there was a 5 to 6 week period last year where he was bumping those 90s, those big hundreds, and you jumped on him at that time.
I did, yes, and that's what also helped me push for a Baker avoid.
Yeah,
Because being through it last year, it's going to happen again this year.
yeah. But I looked at those heat maps, and he mainly he got most of his possessions defensive right on the 50. He was very central, and then he'd run through the midfield or run through the wing. Obviously, he's a carrier for the Tigers. Him, Rioli, and when Short's playing, they're the three that they pass to break that line and to hit that pass. So it really depends on if he gets the opportunity to run through that midfield as well, because he can score points playing that half back role.
Yes.
Where the games where he didn't score well, he was stuck in that back pocket or he played pure wing. So it's very role dependent. He was almost an avoid for me, but I've gone someone who I think is more of an avoid. But I think you are right in saying that his role, it's there at the moment, but it might not be there, so it is an avoid.
You've also got to remember it is Richmond, so every week someone else is scoring that big score.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no consistent player who's scoring around the same every week. We saw round 1 Hopper 68, round 2 119.
Yeah.
Like, they're very team based, so you're not going to see a consistent Supercoach scorer with Richmond, which is why even me as a Richmond fan try to avoid Richmond players at as much as I can.
Yeah, it takes a value pick like a Hopper and a Taranto to really, pick someone. So, all right, I'm going to jump into my avoid. We spoke about him off camera just before. That's Big Mason Wood. The guy's scoring points at the moment. There is no doubt in that. But I swear I saw him in a sling post game, and he said that the doctor didn't think it looked great, so he hurt his shoulder.
He has a history with shoulder problems as well, Mason Wood.
Shoulder problems and just injuries in general.
Yes.
The word at the moment is he should be okay, because he's not on the injury list. But he could be a late out or
Like we saw with LDU.
Yeah, he could be a bit sore and not picked. So And even if I'm totally wrong and he's playing, he has never played a full season at all. And in 2016, he had his highest averaging Supercoach year of 82, and his next best was last year, where he averaged 71. He always seems to get injured, and I don't think he keeps up with this pace anyway. So don't waste a trade on Wood. There are better options out there. Do not get Mason Wood.
To be fair, you can argue he's been St Kilda's best player so far this season.
You can, but he's done that in previous years where he's
No.
for 4
I'm just
rounds
saying,
and been
like,
the best player.
a team that's undefeated, who in their mind would be going at the start of the season? Mason Wood's like the best player for a team that's undefeated after 3 rounds.
Yeah, that's true. I'm actually surprised you haven't said anything, Jack, because I haven't picked a Freo defender.
I was just about to, because I showed you something earlier today, and you chucked in an avoid on one, the number one defender in the competition, and two, the number 3 scoring player in the competition behind only Clayton Oliver and Tim English. And a fun fact for you here, Corey, you might like it.
No, okay.
For the time, Luke Ryan was on 5 Supercoach points.
Oh, I fucking loved it.
And he finished with 105 Supercoach points.
I know.
So, if it's still early on, but if Luke Ryan keeps this up and doesn't get injured, he looks like he's going to be the best defender this year. And people will be going back to round 2, where you said Luke Ryan you must avoid, and you'll be copying it for fun.
Look, his time's coming, but Brendan Cox scored 35, so I've got one right.
He scored 35 and he's still the 7th highest defensive scorer.
All right, well, with that done and dusted, that is the end to buy, keep, sell, and avoid. All right, it's now time for Jack's favourite segment of the podcast, and it's going to be a good one. It is the Aidan Bonner Club.
Yes, it is. And to start with, we've had a little chat and we're making a little change with the leaderboard. So I will still keep count of everyone's votes, but for first, second, and third place in the leaderboard, if people are on the same amount of votes and they're at 3 votes, who's the highest, and there's 3 people there, they're going to be 1, 2, 3 in the leaderboard as they've got more votes instead of naming every single player. And that's obviously going to change week in, week out. And to base it off who gets first, second, and third, it is based off their lowest score in the season.
Yeah.
And just before I get into the 1, 2, 3 of this week and the leaderboard, we were 41 seconds away from history, Corey. Matt Roberts from the Sydney Swans, who I believe got 1 vote last week, was coming in and getting 2 votes this week with a score of 4. But I go and look at his time played, 24 minutes and 19 seconds.
Ooh.
And obviously we set the benchmark to 25 minutes because that is the length of a quarter. Obviously, with add-ons, it goes to 30 minutes plus, but 25 minutes is like the designated time for a quarter. He was 41 seconds off, and he would have been the first person to be in 2 different voting pools, which
that would have been fun.
Would have been a bit of a heartbreak for me because I could have gotten really excited with that one, but we've got some excitement this week.
Yes, we do.
Now, in 1 vote for round 3, from the GWS Giants with a score of 13 Supercoach points in 26 minutes is Connor Stone. And number 2, from the Melbourne Football Club, playing a whopping 42 minutes and scoring a massive 9 Supercoach points. I don't know why he fought Stephen Mailer when they won the premiership, acting like he was in their best 11, best 18, because he clearly isn't, and that's Jake Melksham.
Oh, 42 minutes for 9 points. That's delicious.
No wonder why he got dropped for the granny. And in first, history has been made. We have seen The Rock return at WrestleMania. We have seen Shane O'Mac return at WrestleMania. But in 2023, round 3, I see it, but I don't believe it. Riley Garcia from the Western Bulldogs, in 80 minutes of football and 10 touches of the ball, scored a massive, delicious -6 points.
That's great.
Now, getting into the leaderboard, we have 3 people on 3 votes. So, in third place from round 1, we have Jack Petrocelli with 4 Supercoach points and obviously the 3 votes.
Yes, well done.
In second place from round 2 from his team, we have Elijah Hewitt with a score of 2 with 3 votes. And then first, we just mentioned how legendary he is. We have Riley Garcia, 3 votes, -6 Supercoach points.
Yes. It must be something with the West, because you got the West Coast and the Western Bulldogs. So
And don't forget, round 1, we were like 5 or 10 minutes off Callum Jamieson being in the votes as well.
yeah,
But with Liam Jones's injury, he got in, and which obviously saved him by like 4 Supercoach points. So it's almost a West Coast run competition here.
well, I don't think, unless someone keeps polling votes, I don't think anyone's beat a -6. Could it be? It's over. Let's go home.
It's over. It's over.
Could we see Riley Garcia take home the Aidan Bonner Cup?
Well,
Round
it
3.
looks like Aidan Bonner is coming back this week. So there's the return. John Cena's returned at the Rumble, and he's looking for a -7. He's got the Blues. Good Friday. Stay tuned.
It might be a great Friday if he goes -7.
Forget Good Friday. Great Friday.
All right, and that's gonna do us for tonight's podcast. Jack, you got anything else to say before I sign off?
Let's hope no injuries this week and we don't need to force any trades. That'd be lovely.
I said that last week, and Darcy Cameron went down. So
Oh shit, my whole team's got a collapse, aren't they?
yeah, so what, you've traded in Grundy and LDU, so one of them are going down.
Both laid out.
All right, well, on that note, that's going to do us for tonight's podcast. Thank you all for watching and listening. Don't forget, you can find us on Twitter at BreakeVensPod. Trying to hit 500 followers over there. Need 70 more, so give us a follow. And on YouTube, trying to hit 200 subs. So click that subscribe button, and you will be able to continue to watch our brilliant and fun content. So don't forget, we're on all those other platforms. I've got to go through them again because I'm out of breath. But you will see a post on it on our Twitter. So make sure you are on our Twitter. And you can go through and click on whichever program you use. So once again, thank you all for watching and listening on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube. Good luck for round 4. And until next time, it's bye for now.
See ya.